How you doing out there? Olivia Krem here, your Director of Fitness, taking you through another Mastering Form workout for today. In the Mastering Form series, what you can expect is to really get some of the basics, kind of begin to figure out the whys behind the whats when it comes to specific exercises, and as well as learning how to do them properly. Because of course, if we do exercises properly, we're more likely to develop the way we want, and we're less likely to injure ourselves. So that's super, super important. So before we jump in, it's always a good idea to check with your physician. If this is your first time joining me for one of the Mastering Form workouts, it's important just to check in, kind of make sure everything's okay and that your body is healthy to do exercise and ready to go. Also, listen to your body. We're going to take things nice and slow. This is meant more for educational and kind of taking you through the moves, but it's still going to be some exercise. So make sure that you listen to your body. Have some water handy. Always stay hydrated is key, and just remember, go at whatever pace is best for you. All right, so let's dive on in. Some of the exercises we're going to work on today is about shoulders and core. I get a lot of questions about how do you develop your upper body, and shoulders and core is definitely body parts or muscle groups that I feel are really important to help with some overall strength. So I want to really kind of show you about 5 or 6 exercises that I think you'll really like. All you're going to need today is something soft to sit on or to lie on. I'm going to use some dumbbells, but if you've got cans, that works great. If you've got bottles of water, that works great too. So you don't necessarily need to have free weights or dumbbells when you do this move, but they are great if you want to sort of kind of give yourself some added resistance. So let's kind of get on started. The first exercise we're going to do is called a lying pullover, or single leg press up to a plank. Now there are some, definitely with exercises, there's some modified versions that you can do. So I'm going to show you sort of a version that I think is a little bit easier to get into before going to the advanced. So this is a modified sort of plank press up move or side press up move. You're going to really focus a lot on the core here, and it's going to begin to get that shoulder involved a little bit. So my knees are slightly bent. My elbow is directly underneath my shoulder, which is important. I don't want my elbow out here because that's going to put a lot of undue pressure on my shoulder muscles and my joints. So I got to make sure that placement is in the right area. Knees are slightly bent, and then I'm going to basically keep my core tight, lift my body off the floor, and at the same time I'm going to bring this arm up, and then I'm going to come down. Okay? What I want to do is to try to stay facing you. So you're going to be facing me, facing the screen. I want to try to avoid going down. Now, that is an exercise, okay? That is definitely a way to advance the exercise. We're just going to start out with just sort of the basic plank or side plank lift. So my hand is just sort of resting here, lift up, and bring my shoulder up, raise my arm. So I'm lifting up, raise, lifting up, raise, and what you're going to feel is you should feel some tightness build up on this side. Not necessarily this side, you'll feel it on the opposite side, because this is what's basically doing the bridging, okay? So I'm lifting, bring the arm up, lifting, bring the arm up, lifting, bring the arm up. Now, if you find that this is very uncomfortable for your shoulder, because unless you're used to bridging and bringing your body up on your shoulder, it may feel a little strange, okay? So you may want to just do a few of those until you get comfortable with it before you can, continue going on with, 10, 12, or 15 repetitions. So that way you can give yourself a break there, all right? So again, I want to make sure I'm facing you the whole time, lifting it up, bringing it down, lifting it up, bringing it down, lifting it up, bringing it down. All right. Now, if I wanted to make it harder, which you can do, I would straighten my legs out. My legs are completely straight at that point. This is going to basically put more of my body weight onto my core. When my knees were bent, it was less, right? Now that they're straight, it's more, all right? So now we're going to do the same thing. We're going to lift, bring it up. So you can see it's a lot harder with the legs being straight. So lift, bring the arm up. I still have to make sure I'm facing you, right? And I'm not rolling over or turning back. Lift, bring it up. And you can go at the same time. Now, if you feel like you want to keep the legs straight, but it's a little hard to bring bring the body up without assistance from balance because maybe you're tilting, you can put this other hand here too. Just to begin to kind of get used to what that movement is like. So up and down, but I'm still trying to make sure I keep centered on you, okay? All right, so that's just a really good exercise that I like to kind of get my core ready to go, get my shoulders ready to go, kind of loosen that up a little bit, and you're gonna wanna repeat. So whatever amount you did on one side, you wanna make sure you're turning it over to do the same amount or the same repetitions on the other side. All right, so let's move on a little bit. Now we're gonna do what's called a kneeling half chop. So this is where we will use a dumbbell or we'll use a bottle of water or a can. I will say if you haven't done this before, choose a resistance or choose a weight that's lighter than you're typically used to dealing with because you're gonna, even though you're gonna be bringing this above your head in a chopping movement, you're gonna wanna make sure it's a weight that you feel comfortable bringing up in that direction, okay? So I'm gonna hold my dumbbell here at the end. So if I was holding a can at the ends, or the same thing for a bottle, I'm gonna I'm gonna be kneeling. So I don't wanna be down this way. I wanna be off, I want my rear end off of my feet. My core is tight, facing you. I'm gonna start from the top and chop down. Start from the top, chop down, start from the top, chop. And what I wanna do is I really want the core to dictate the movement. Yes, my arms are involved, my shoulders are involved, but they're kind of participating. The move comes from the core, right? And think about the belly button is what does the follow through. Meaning that if my belly button is centered and my arms are here, I'm doing a lot with my arms but very little with my core, with my waist. So I want my belly button to lead the direction. My belly button's over here, then it's over here. Belly button's here, and it's over there. So my arms are following the belly button. And then when I've done the repetitions that I want on this side, then I just go the opposite way. All the while, of course, tight. I'm breathing, don't hold your breath, and I'm twisting the core. If I'm doing that properly, I should feel it getting tight here. Yes, my shoulders will get tired as well because we are doing some exercises that engage the shoulders as well as the core. But remember, choose a weight that you feel very comfortable with. All right, so that's really good. And it's called a chop. You can also do this on your feet. So if you wanted to stand up and do this, you can. So if you felt like being on your knees were a little problematic, you can put something with a little extra buffer, maybe a softer mat, or you can absolutely stand up on your feet. If you did stand up on your feet, what I want to do is just make sure I'm centered. My feet are just sort of slightly bent. My knees are slightly bent there. Same thing though. Chop, here, chop. I want to avoid doing this, right? Because at that point, I'm putting a little bit too much pressure in the areas that I don't want, and I'm not engaging that core as much as I want. So it's very slight. My chest should be facing in this direction the whole time. All right, so that is the kneeling chop. Now we're gonna go to what's called halo abs, okay, or making a halo with your core. So we're gonna go ahead and keep this dumbbell here, or whatever you're using for resistance. I'm gonna be sitting up, again, rearing off the feet, and I'm gonna make a circle. And I'm just making sort of like that halo effect, right? But what I'm doing is you should feel the pulling in this area right here. Again, choose a weight that's comfortable for you to go back and forth and make this halo. Core tight. I want to avoid doing this, right? Because I'm not in control of the movement at that point, and I'm not in control of the resistance. So I've got to stay very tight and imagine that my core is basically grabbing the dumbbell, not my arms. But don't worry, I know your arms are getting it too, shoulders are getting it as well, but sort of envision that it's the core. doing that. There we go, side to side. My hips are facing you, just like that. All right, so that's more of a halo abs. Now you can also do that standing, just like we did the other exercises as well with the chop. So you can go from down to up, but right now you should be feeling nice and tight there. And you can do it for a series of repetitions, or you can do this for a series, a duration of time. So if you feel like you don't want to count the reps, 1, 2, you can just say, I'm gonna put a minute on the clock, 45 seconds on the clock, or whatever is best for you until it times out, okay? All right, perfect. Now we're gonna do a lying pullover toe touch. Now I like this one because it's definitely gonna work the core. You're gonna feel it, in the upper part of the core area a lot, but you're also gonna, again, keep those shoulders in play. Choose a weight that you feel good about. You're only gonna need one, so you may go up in resistance if you feel comfortable with it. Here, I'm gonna bring the dumbbell, for me, behind my head, and then when I come up, I wanna touch my toes. Or that's what I'm shooting for, right? Now, if you can't touch your toes, that's okay. Think about a point, maybe it's the shin. Maybe it's even the knee for right now, or the ankle, but that's what I'm shooting for. And I'm gonna go down, up, and my elbows are slightly bent, so they're not perfectly straight. And I'm up and down. Squeezing my stomach, up and down. Yep, it's called a toe touch. However, I am not able to get to my toes today. If you wanted to try to come all the way up, you absolutely could. That just makes it more challenging if you did, in fact, aim for the toe. If you're bringing a dumbbell behind your head, make sure it's weight you feel comfortable with. There we go. Now, let's say, for instance, that move is a little challenging because you need to have neck support, right? Maybe having your head just free flowing without support is tough for you. Then you want to modify that. You can still get the legs involved, but we're going to support the head here, and we just do more of a crunch. So yes, you sacrifice having the added resistance, but don't worry. The core is absolutely still going to feel it. So there's ways that you can kind of basically increase the resistance. You can do a modified, hands behind the head. You can just reach for the shin or the ankle with the dumbbell, or the resistance that you have, or you can pop all the way up. Either way, you want to make sure you keep your core nice and tight and choose a dumbbell that you feel like you're comfortable with, bringing behind your head. If your shoulders are a little they're a little challenging, or they're a little creaky, or a little bit on the weaker side, where you feel like there's some areas where you've had some challenges in your shoulders, make sure you're really nice and loose before you rotate your shoulders behind you with resistance in your hands. So maybe try that move first with nothing to see how it feels, then maybe go up a little bit more, maybe a lighter weight before you decide to go all in with something that's heavy and it's a little bit funky on the shoulders, okay? All right. So now we're gonna keep going a little bit and do what's called a lateral extension leg kick out. Yes, long name for an exercise, but it's gonna still focus on those shoulders for us, and it's gonna focus on that core. So again, stand in the same spot, a good time saver. I mean, I'm not bouncing around a lot, right? I'm gonna do both dumbbells for this one. My arms are sort of out at my sides a little bit here. Again, a weight or resistance that you feel comfortable with. If this is new, maybe start out with nothing at all. What I want to do is, you see how the bells are up like this. My knees or feet are about a 90-degree angle or so. I'm gonna raise off the floor, so I'm getting close to the ground, but I lift, and then I bring a knee up, and I get about 2 inches from the floor, okay? And then the other one, up and down. So I'm here, lift, lift, down. I raise, my knee in, down. I raise, bring my knee in, down. Raise, knee in, down. Now, let's say that's too much. Let's say even with a 3-pounder or a 5-pound dumbbell, it just doesn't feel really good on the shoulders. Try it with nothing at all. Let's say, for instance, you don't like the way that raise feels. You can do this move with just crossing your chest. So my hands are crossed here. I'm just gonna take my shoulders out of it. And I'm gonna still start with my feet close to the floor. And I'm just bringing my knees up and up. Squeezing my stomach, breathing, and I'm gonna get it right there in that area. Now, if you find that your low back is a bit, a bit of a problem, support your low back. Either roll up a towel underneath you, you can support your hands underneath you, just to give yourself some support as your knees are rocking down and up. You may find that lifting in the low back a bit of a challenge for you if you have low back issues. So something to pay attention to so you can make that adjustment, okay? So that's a really fun exercise because it gets the heart rate up as well, okay? You may be kind of feeling it a little bit, and it's very isolating on the shoulders, and you absolutely feel it in the stomach. All right, so for the last one we're gonna do is called a kneeling figure 8. We're gonna take one of our dumbbells. I'm kneeling, not standing up much today, and I'm gonna just make a figure 8, okay? But I wanna try to use something that I feel comfortable with keeping it straight out and also keeping my core tight. So I'm going to make that figure 8. Make a figure 8. There we go. Drawing in my mind, and my core is super tight. What I want to avoid doing, if possible, is having a weight that forces me to go like this or forward or where I can't handle it. So it's important to choose something that I feel really good that I can support from this position and not sacrifice my posture. Okay? And you see how straight my arms are? And after a while, my shoulders will really start to feel that, and it won't take long, okay? So I'm making that 8, and I want to maintain that chest height. So I want to try to avoid dropping where my figure 8 is down there. After a while, it may very well do that. But again, choose a weight that you feel like you can manage safely and maintain throughout the duration of the move as much as possible. There we go, figure 8. And don't worry if you mess up. Right? I mean, I'm sure I'm not getting my figure 8 right the whole time, but I'm feeling it. Right? Figure 8. Good. Now you can stand, right? So again, feel like kneeling too much on the knees. You can absolutely do these standing. There we go. Figure 8 and up. Okay, awesome. You did it. So that was some examples of exercises that you can do to work the core and the shoulders, okay? So I hope you enjoyed the exercises today in the Mastering Form series. If you got any questions about any of these moves that you've seen or any other moves, email me at fitness@libya.com. It's always great to hear from you and answer any questions that you have. So just remember, you'll always do great. Just being able to move, no matter how little, it's just important to have that movement in your day, all right? It was great, and I can't wait to see you again soon.